Hey guys, welcome back to Insight Tennis Tour Stroke Series. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about serve, and this is a series of videos that I'm doing that are designed to be a bit of an introductory series. We're going to be doing a full course on the serve. It'll be a series of videos, but it's going to cover everything on the serve essentially from A to Z. From footwork to, torso and trunk rotation, wrist and arm rotation, pronation, supination, all the different terms that you've heard, how power is generated, power leaks, what are the biggest mistakes that most people make on their serves, and why they lose power and why they don't have the consistency and spin. So we're gonna go through all of that. So watch for that. It's going to be coming out soon. And it will be a full course that you can download that will cover every aspect of the serve. It'll help you to develop a tour level serve. And what we want to talk about today in connection with that is, if you've seen any of my other videos on the serve, you know that I talk about the wrist and arm rotation versus a wrist snap or a wrist flick. Many times you hear it talked about. That's a term that's very, very common out there. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of coaches and a lot of people that believe that if I'm going to hit my serve, and as I come around and I can come up to the ball, if I want more power, I've got to really snap and flick my wrist like this. Okay? Well, first of all, if you watch the pros and you watch them in super slow motion, you're going to find out that absolutely does not happen. There is rotation, and once the ball's gone, the racket continues to rotate over, but the ball is gone. So what I'm advocating, and I want to be very clear about this, is that the pros aren't coming up to the ball and flipping their hand over like this. Okay, that's what the great misconception is, this wrist flick or this wrist snap. So what do they do instead? Okay, so because when you watch it in super slow motion, you would probably swear that that's what's happening. But what you have to recognize is that when they come up and make contact with that ball, the ball is only on the strings for like less than 0.004 of a second. So when they make contact with that ball, the ball's gone, and if you were to take a still shot or hit pause if you're watching video, you would see that after contact, directly after contact, and they're up here like this. I'm going to back up so you can make sure that I'm in the screen here. All right, so directly after contact, I'm here, and I'm coming around, and I've rotated back to impact, right? I'm doing this in slow motion, so I'm coming up like this, and I'm releasing up and pronating. Once I make contact with the ball, if you were to take a picture of the pros after contact, you would not see this. Directly after contact, their racket is still in this position, and it continues in that position, and then it rotates over like this. And that's what we see, and we think that it happened after contact. Now, why is it important to not flip my wrist? Because if you think about it from the standpoint of the laws of physics, remember we talk about in the forehand, if you rotate your wrist independent of your body, you've disconnected yourself from your power source. Make no mistake about it, the power is in the body in this game. Yes, there's great power in the wrist and arm rotation with the serve, but the body obviously is the engine, the power source. If I come into the ball and I rotate back like this and I come up to the ball and I do this independent of my body, which is so often talked about, I've disconnected myself from my power source, which is my body. Okay, so this is the problem, and this is what we hear all the time: wrist flick, wrist snap, snap your wrist, those kinds of things. It absolutely does not happen like that on the tour level or the pro level. So what does happen? Well, here's what is the difference. We talk about pronation And a lot of times people have the wrong conception of pronation, and they think that the wrist breaks over this way or breaks over this way, okay? When in reality what happens is it rotates to impact, and then once the ball is gone, it continues to rotate over, but remember the ball is gone. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to demonstrate what actually does happen at the tour level, and you can go watch video and you can see this very, very clearly, especially if it's slow motion. So we're in our good pin or our good platform stance, right toe, left heel, right? We're going to take the racket back. We get into that good trophy position here that we've talked about so many times, right? So let's just assume that we're here. The racket is dropped back, as you remember, not this way, but back this way, and it rotates back around. Okay, I'm doing this in slow motion. But as I come up to impact, right, I'm supinating here, and then I'm going to pronate to impact, right? Notice what's happening here. My arm is starting to straighten, right? But my body is also rotating, and when I make contact with the ball, my body is behind the ball, so I'm still connected to my body, right? So I'm going to come up and I'm going to boom. Notice that that's a body swing now, and as I rotate over, I'm going to not allow my racket to break forward this way, right? So if you take a picture, for example, after impact, what you're going to see of the top pros is that after impact, their arm is straight. Their racket hasn't broken over this way. Their arm is here, okay? Which suggests now that they're using their body as a unit, and the arm is just going along for the ride, okay? So this is the way you want to think about it. When you take it back here, and I'm dropping back and I'm coming back around, I want to think about my body driving this, right? My arm comes up, and my body is what is going to rotate with that arm. It keeps me in connection with my body. This is the key to hitting the ball with such velocity that you see the tour players hit. Now, even on the second serve, it's the same thing. The arm is actually working as a product of my body, right? And I've got that second serve. Clearly, I'm going to come across the ball a little bit more on the second serve. So again, the concept here and the thing that you want to take away from this is dispel this rumor, this myth of the wrist snap or the wrist flick. And what do I mean by that? I mean coming up to the ball and flipping my hand over like this at impact. Okay? While there is wrist and arm rotation up to impact, I want to maintain that position after impact, right? So as I come up and I come around and I rotate back to impact, I'm rotating back to impact on edge here, and I come up and I make contact with that ball. I want to hit that ball, and I still want to be in this position after impact, not that position, right? After impact. Then the ball is long gone, my hand continues to rotate over, and this is what we see. We see the pros in this position, and we think that it happened like this in the serve, when in reality it absolutely does not. And the reason is because it would disconnect them from their power source, which is their body. Now the next time you go out there and you look at the pros and watch them in super slow motion, you can look at this frame by frame, just stop it right after impact, and you're going to see very, very clearly that their racket is still in this position, okay? Their arm is straight. It hasn't, the wrist has not broken forward like this, okay? They do rotate, don't get me wrong. They do rotate, supinate here, and rotate up to impact to pronate. But at impact, if you take a picture after impact, you're going to still see this. And then still see this, and still see this. And then it rotates over and drops to the left side of the body. Now that's exaggerated a little bit to illustrate the point, but the idea is we got to get away, if you want to hit the ball with more pace, using your body, and your arm is essentially kind of going along for the ride, so to speak. you got to get away from this wrist flick concept, this flipping over at impact. The pros absolutely do not do that. And if you think about it from the laws of physics standpoint, if I were to flip my racket over like that, think about how short and minute the interval is where my racket is actually square to the ball. If I'm going to do this kind of a thing, I'm going to flip it over like this, right? Versus coming into the ball and making contact, right? Coming up and making contact here and rotating to impact and continuing out towards my target, up and out obviously, and then rotating over. So again, you'll want to practice this, because it's one thing for me to say it, it's another thing entirely for you to feel it. So the next time you're out there, this is a good way to practice this. And if you've seen my other videos on the drills that I use to get this wrist and arm rotation, think about that. Start with an abbreviated swing, okay? Toss a ball up and just rotate to impact, and then let your racket just drop, okay? You don't need to worry about trying to flip it, all right? Just rotate it. Rotate to impact and rotate it over. And think rotation, wrist and arm rotation as a unit, not wrist flick or wrist snap, independent of your arm and independent of your body. Next time you're out there, try this. It's going to take a little while to kind of feel it if you've been used to that flip. And it's not that you can't hit the ball like that once in a while. You're going to get lucky and catch it clean, and you're going to hit it hard, and you're going to, oh, that's what it's supposed to be. But if you watch the pros, you're going to see that absolutely is not the case. So wrist and arm rotation, not wrist flick or wrist snap, and you're going to have a much more consistent, powerful, penetrating serve. Hopefully that's going to be helpful for you. If you like this video, click the link below, subscribe to the channel, visit our website at insighttennis.com, and send in your videos, leave any comments, leave any questions. Love to hear the feedback. Gotten a lot of feedback from all over the world. Certainly appreciate it, and love that you guys are liking what we're doing. We're going to keep putting videos out there. We're going to keep uploading content, so watch for all the new things. Subscribe to the channel so that you get all the new content as it comes available. And as always, thank you for your time, and we'll see you out there on the court.